Baishapa, Sherera Luis, Coabambe Utapeme, Maepa Hae Terere, Terere Hae Petemba Paraguaywa, Jaguayan de Inum Guarani, Catuhamoise and Yamungetamba Epa Haquera Hei, Hamba Epa Haquera Ojapo, Ojapo. At Avei, Pehendura Mocoteapu, Tahise, Heupama Hala de Terere.
That was Guarani. My Guarani story started more than a year ago. When I knew we'd be taking this trip that turned into season 1 of Language Stories, I knew I wanted to use it as an excuse to learn a new language. But the Americas? Surely that's awash with English in the USA, French in Quebec, and Spanish in Central and South America, right? Well, as I hope this season has proved so far, that's not the case. So for me, Guarani has always been there throughout making this season. From finding a Paraguayan restaurant with Guarani words on the wall in New York, to taking online lessons with my tutor in Mexico, and memorizing my little heart out each day in Nicaragua, Guarani has been there the whole time. And we finally arrived in Paraguay, in Asunción to be precise, the capital and largest city in the country. But what should we do here? And what should we expect from Paraguay and Guarani? To find out, we spoke to Romy Natalia Goldberg, who quite literally wrote the book on Paraguay.
Because one of the problems is with Guarani is that everyone, there's a spectrum, so everyone speaks a different amount. And so some people who speak Guarani, they speak it, but they speak it so mixed with Spanish that if you throw the direct Guarani at them, they're like, okay, that's not what I would use. I would almost say, I wouldn't even expect to have a conversation with someone in straight up Guarani. It's better to present yourself as wanting to learn Guarani and let them teach you. Yeah. And that will open it all up. I found the best phrase for me was I would say, something, people would be like, oh, you want to speak Guarani? I would say, I'm trying to speak Guarani. But again, you got to use it with people who already know to expect that you're going to try and test it out. And you can do the, I'm going to test out this phrase on you face. And somehow you're just kind of laying the bridge out in front of them so you guys can both cross together.
After speaking with Romy, I decided I wanted to take things further with the language while in the country. So I went back to school, Guarani school. IDIPA is a language school based in Asunción and the only place, as far as I'm aware, teaching Guarani to foreigners.
Y como que en Guaraní tenemos dos pronunciaciones, una que es por la boca y otra es nasal.
Y los nasales son muy importantes.
Y los nasales para el guaraní son la parte principal. Es la que tiene más peso por la pronunciación que tiene, porque la mayoría de los vocablos que tenemos nosotros en guaraní hace que sea muy importante, como por ejemplo baracá, eso es nasal, baracá que quiere decir guitarra, baracayá, eso quiere decir gato, y la MB, esto es nasal, o sea, tiene una pronunciación por la nariz, ba.
After my week of lessons, it soon became apparent that Guarani is very much a part of what it means to be Paraguayan.
Paraguayans are very friendly and they're very receptive, and they're also very used to, it sounds terrible to say it, but they're very used to not necessarily being respected by foreigners, and that has a lot to do with the history with, the Triple Alliance War and having these big, confrontations with their neighbors who are just culturally and economically more powerful.
There's been a lot of moments in Paraguayan history where Guarani could have easily disappeared, but before we talk dictators and wars, let's go a little further back, to the late 1500s, a time when the Spanish had arrived in Paraguay, and so had the Jesuit missionaries, who would have much more impact than they intended on the Guarani language. To find out more, we headed to one of the least visited UNESCO sites in the world, the Jesuit ruins of Trinidad. The first Jesuits arrived in this region in the late 1500s, developing missions like this for over 150 years. Their focus was evangelization, aka converting locals to Christianity. As part of this process, they built around 30 of these ruins in this region, Collectively, they're known as the Rio de la Plata ruins, and they now cover parts of southern Paraguay, Argentina and Brazil. Founded in 1706, Santísima Trinidad del Paraná, where we are today, is the biggest of all the ruins in the area. But why as a local would you come here? Well, remember that time period. If you chose not to come and live with the Jesuits and convert to Christianity, well, you'd probably get taken by the Spanish. Living under Spanish or Portuguese colonists wouldn't have exactly been a great life. You could have been subjected to slavery, you could have just simply been told that now you have to change everything you know and live this life and learn this new language, and yeah, not much fun. But the Jesuit missions acted almost like states within states. So if you chose to come here, you were kind of living in a little Jesuit bubble, away from all that, where in theory you were protected. But that doesn't mean it was all rainbows and butterflies in the Jesuit missions. Putting lots of native people in one place made it very easy for diseases to spread. Thousands of Guarani died from this in the early years of the settlements. And not only that, but also having lots of local Guarani in one place made for a very easy target for Portuguese slave traders. But this happened before sites like Trinidad, so sites further east towards Brazil, where as soon as it happened, the Jesuits were forced to move further west, away from those Portuguese slave traders, to places like this here in Trinidad in Paraguay. Eventually, the Jesuits were expelled by the Spanish in the year 1767. This meant that missions like this were left to their own devices, and that meant that the native Guarani population that chose to live here, well, they were absorbed into the slave trade or into the European culture that now surrounded them. But with over 200 years of being here in the region, the Jesuits' mark is still felt, not just in the form of these bricks, but also in the Guarani language. As part of their drive to convert locals to Christianity, the Jesuits studied and, most importantly, wrote down Guarani for the first time, which until then had only been an oral, spoken language. The Jesuits' role in writing down Guarani helped to strengthen the language for what was to come less than 100 years later, what's often described as the deadliest war in Latin America, the War of the Triple Alliance.
The War of the Triple Alliance took place between 1864 and 1870. In what turned out to be a devastating decision for the people of Paraguay, the then leader of the country, Francisco Solano Lopez, declared war against Argentina, Uruguay and Brazil over territorial disputes along their borders. The war quickly turned to a massacre as Paraguay was pushed to the brink of destruction.
Paraguayans, they had this horrible war, the War of the Triple Alliance, where between 60 to 90% of the male population died, and about 30 to 60 of the female population as well. So this is a country that was taken to the brink of annihilation, basically. It just almost didn't exist. And so this idea that we survived is so strong that runs through with the language as well. That's where the pride comes from. That is something that survived against all of the odds.
With such high population losses, you may be wondering how the Guarani language survived after the War of the Triple Alliance. My tutor Marcelo explained how.
No sé si has escuchado la frase de que el Paraguay fue reconstruido por mujeres, básicamente.
Sí.
¿Y tú sabes por qué es eso?
Sí, la guerra de Triple Alianza. Sí.
Claro, la guerra de la Triple Alianza, claro. Entonces, en la que 3 países pelearon contra Paraguay y Paraguay quedó destruido, básicamente. Entonces, fueron las mujeres las que reconstruyeron el país y tú sabes que la madre es la que transmite primeramente el idioma al hijo, ¿verdad? Y todos los valores y todo eso. Entonces, y incluso desde la época de la colonia, porque cuando llegaron los españoles fue muy diferente que en otros países, porque los españoles se mezclaron con los indígenas. Los hombres españoles se unieron con las mujeres indígenas. Entonces ya desde ahí los hijos que nacían hablaban primeramente, obviamente, el idioma de la madre, que era indígena. Y luego eso se repitió después de la guerra de la Triple Alianza. Las mujeres fueron las que reconstruyeron el país, transmitieron su lengua, su cultura, sus valores a sus hijos y así. Entonces, por eso es muy fuerte el guaraní ahí.
Of course, many Paraguayan mothers and fathers are still teaching Guarani to their children today. And nowadays, both Guarani and Spanish are compulsory in schools. A language that's not learnt as frequently in Paraguay, however, is English. We met up with some young Paraguayans working to change that. and maybe even inspire some English speakers to learn Guarani too. Guaranglish is a language learning app, but that's not all they do.
Guaranglish is not just an app. It actually took many forms. We were trying to find out some ways to reach people. So one of the methods were these camps, these Guaranglish camps. They were bilingual camps.
After like some months, a couple of months, many communities around reach us and say, hey, we want this project in our community. And we were like just 6. And they say, how can we spread this methodology? How can we like reach these people? And then we say, we came up with this idea of why don't we like create an app using the same methodology but in the digital world.
Through gamification, Guaranglish teaches Guarani speakers English and English speakers Guarani. And it's the first app to do just that. But, as Oswaldo said, that's not all they do. Guaranglish camps for young people and Guaranglish workshops for teachers help to promote English and Guarani.
We launched the app in September last year, and we have 5,000 users around the world in 54 countries.
54?
54 countries, yeah.
What kind of countries are we talking?
Like around the world. I'll show you. Like I can show you the map.
It's not
the
just
map.
neighbors, is it? That's 54. Like wow.
We were impressed when we see like 2 weeks later we were like in 22 countries, and then we want to say, people from Singapore are learning Guarani. What is going on? Like people from China, from Russia.
Paraguayan people are living abroad. They miss the language, this connection to this culture. So those are one group of the people who were keeping in touch with this app.
And who can blame them? Guarani, just like any language, holds so much meaning and power in its words. And for many Paraguayans living abroad or at home, while Spanish acts as the language of the head, Guarani is the language of the heart.
O sea que el vocablo, aparte el guaraní es muy dulce, es muy expresivo para expresar sentimiento, porque con el guaraní decir Xochero Haiku estamos diciendo te quiero, pero con el guaraní parece que tiene más sentimiento cuando decimos, y tiene también su contraparte, que es cuando le retamos a alguien o le hacemos que no nos guste algo y le decimos, le enfrentamos, también duele mucho cuando le decimos para el paraguayo.
Claro, porque es lo que siempre se dice en Paraguay, el tema de que el español como que es el idioma de la mente, más o menos, ¿verdad? Todo el mundo entiende para cosas lógicas, para todas las cosas del Estado y todo. Pero el guaraní es como el idioma del corazón, realmente. Si quieres llegarle a una persona, a un paraguayo bien profundo, tienes que hablarle en guaraní. Le llega mucho más profundo, más fuerte. Y las cosas son más fuertes en guaraní también. Creo que habíamos hablado de eso, el tema. Los insultos en guaraní duelen más que en español. Tú me insultas en español y bueno, me voy a molestar un poco, pero en guaraní duelen.
Language and identity are so closely intertwined that I was beginning to wonder if it was okay for me, an outsider, a non-Paraguayan from the other side of the world, to learn this language that means so much to so many of its speakers.
For Paraguayans, Guarani is something very special because it's theirs. But they're happy to share it with somebody else if you prove that you appreciate it and want to learn it. I've never found a Paraguayan who is like, you said that wrong. It actually, the way it works is if you say something wrong, usually, maybe it's just me and maybe it's just my family, but usually if I mess up, I end up saying something dirty. And then if you're able to just roll with it, that actually opens people up more.
Okay.
Somehow, because Paraguayans also, they like to laugh and it's kind of cliche, but, they like to sit and talk. And so if you can just make your learning Guarani just an ongoing conversation and make all the mistakes, because if you've been learning a lot of languages, you got to make a bajillion mistakes.
Yeah.
And just make them all and be that person that they can kind of poke fun at a little. But you're basically, when you're learning Guarani, you are actively building a relationship with Paraguay and with Paraguayans. I mean, there's just no way to learn it. Like you said, there's no resources for you to learn it in a bubble. You have to learn it with people. But that's what makes it so great, because you learn so much about the culture at the same time as you're learning the words. And so much of the culture is literally encoded into the words.
Feeling reassured, it was time to try out my Guarani on the Guaranglish team.
Xerera Lindsay.
Mo wande.
Wande. She Inglaterra gua.
Great.
Y por ahí
Aguille? Gracias, man.
Aguille.
Aguille. That's the first time I've spoken Guarani, like with people.
Nice, oh my god.
Thank you.
I'm so excited. I need to open it.
Oh, Dios mío.
What does it say?
It says, okay, that moment in Yepiru Jave to think Mokoin Nye at the same time.
Oh, yeah! Did you get it? What it says?
Armed with my new bilingual Guarani and English t-shirt, courtesy of Guaranglish, I was ready to take my language skills on the road. Ashley, my husband, and the guy behind the camera and editing of these videos, is a keen runner. He found a race in Altos, a town not too far from Asuncion. It turned out he was the first English person ever to compete, which got the organisers quite excited. This meant it wasn't long before I was using Guarani in a rather unexpected situation.
Maite, Xerera Lindsay, Ximena Ashley, Ximena de Ashley.
Hola, me llamo Ashley, soy inglés.
Mira, esa, honestamente, Paraguay tiene muchas cosas buenas y cosas malas también, pero de lo que yo me enorgullezco es que realmente el paraguayo es muy amable con todo el mundo.
Pero estoy muy feliz, emocionada y creo que tengo Paraguay en mi corazón.
¿En serio?
Sí, me siento muy cerca. Solo...
Y me pone un poco melancólico porque yo estoy lejos de Paraguay ahora.
Sí.
Our time in Paraguay was a joy, helped in no small part by my study of Guarani before visiting, that led me to understanding the country on a deeper level. From my lessons with Cecilia at Iripar to the delicious food, from my new collection of Guarani books to the music, museums and malls of Paraguay, it's a place I can't wait to go back to, with a language I can't wait to learn more about. Xera Jaihu, Paraguay.
En guaraní, sí, pero no sé si van a entender lo que me van a escuchar. Solamente y sí. Peyu, ape, o chenetame, chenetamponaiteme, etamba, eoipe, eshahama. Vengan a este hermoso país, porque hay muchísimas cosas que van a ver, van a conocer y sobre todo su gente, porque la gente acá es muy hospitalaria y siempre le recibe también a la gente que viene del extranjero. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you so much for watching and listening to this very first series of language stories. It's been a real joy to make, and I hope you've had as much fun watching and listening at home as we have making it. We're currently in Asia filming season 2 of Language Stories, but in the meantime we've got a special little bonus episode, or a couple, we'll see, coming up very soon, so look out for those. We're planning on launching second series late 2018, so look out for that. And of course, as always, if you have a language story that you'd love to share, or you know someone that does, get in touch through the details in the description below. And of course, as always, remember to subscribe for regular language learner videos. I'll see you very soon. Aguje, bye!